SigTalks, Episode 009, Moving Out of Mediocrity.
It comes as a question of motives. I'm not interested particularly in seeing you get rich. I'm not particularly interested in seeing you buy cars and horses and homes and everything of that kind. But I am interested in wanting to see the sick people get well. That was the original concept of my father. It's been my concept all my life. And it always will be.
Hello, and welcome to SigTalks with your host, Dr. Carrie Sigafoose, your home for the chiropractic philosophy, where we discuss the teachings of Dr. James Sigafoose, from his writings to his talks and his many audio presentations.
I hope you enjoyed that opening monologue by B.J. Palmer himself. It was something I found while rummaging through the veritable plethora of stuff that my father has hidden away in this house. The best part of having this podcast is creating fun and interesting shows. So today I'm mixing things up a bit, and I'm going to talk to you at the beginning instead of my usual comment section at the end. Because what I brought to you today is one of my father's entire phone consultations, and well, it speaks for itself. Dr. Sigafoose shares with his clients the importance of, well, not being mediocre. So for this episode, it is recommended that you get a pad of paper and a pen and take some notes. We've been programmed all our lives to believe that we are ordinary or average, and sometimes below or just a little bit above the norm. We need to break out of this mindset. We all have been trained to judge ourselves and to allow others to judge us. We judge ourselves not only on our past actions, but also on whom we associate with, but also what we have and who we are. When we think of people that achieve great things, do we think that they are better than us? Well, they're not. Super achievers are just like us, except they broke out of their mediocrity. When we were children, we were told that grades, athletics, and popularity were the standards we should set ourselves up by. But this is wrong. We were all created to grow and be better and to do great things. We have the best computer in the world in between our ears, designed to do one thing: help us to do incredible things. Here's one example that you will hear Dr. Sigafoose speak about in a few moments. Colonel Sanders failed over and over, and at one point was selling his chicken out of the trunk of his car. But after mapping out what he wanted and taking all the action steps he set out in front of him, he was finally a permanent success. He sold the company in 1964 for $2 million, about $15 million in today's money, but stayed on as spokesman and the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He traveled across the country and the world talking chicken until the day he died at the age of 90 in 1980. So you see, we need to reprogram our brains and adjust our attitudes. Do you have a vision of whom you are and what you want to achieve? Do you have the strategies to change your programming? We can change everything in life. We can lose all our money and get it back. We can lose our health and get it back too. But what we can't lose and get back is time. This is why it is of the utmost importance to make a plan and map it out and act on it. When I decided to create this podcast, I set out my goals, and I found a mentor, and I bought a program to get me where I wanted to be. And then I acted on it every day. And in time, I released my first show. And now I act on it every day in the planning and the making of each show. This is me planning and acting on my plans. Now I'm going to start my father's talk here in a few moments. But before I do, think about these 3 steps and these 3 insights. 1. Realization. Your future achievements are not based off your past. 2. Personal commitment. If you cannot commit to the actions that you need to take to get where you want to be, then you have already failed. 3. Vision mapping. This is literally mapping out your dreams. Dr. Sigafoose gives an excellent example of this, so be ready for an aha moment. As far as insights go, this one is worth repeating. Your past does not dictate your future. Your past failures are not failures, in fact. They are solutions as to what not to do next time. If you can do one thing well, then you have the potential to do gigantic things. And lastly, work on the actions that you must take to get where you want to be. Goals take action. Dr. Sigafoose will give you some techniques in just a few moments. So with that being one of my longest introductions out of the way, I give you Dr. James Sigafoose.
So anyway, we've got a lot to cover tonight, so hopefully you got your pens and pencils ready. And I want to remind you of something. The reason that we're even doing this thing is to get us all to reprogram our minds, our little computers that we got between our ears, so that we can move out of mediocrity. There's far too many of us apparently stuck in mediocrity, and it doesn't have to be that way. And so there are certain things that we have to do. I talked to a young man today, and he wanted to know how he could learn to be like a shiftman or somebody who's doing a large volume. How can you learn to do that? Well, you don't learn to do it because there's a certain amount of magic to that can't be taught. But we can reprogram our minds and learn how to move from mediocrity to a super achievement, and that's what we're after. So one of the things we have to recognize is that we've been programmed to, from the time we were kids and all through elementary school, high school, and so on, is that we're programmed to believe that we are average or ordinary, or sometimes a little bit above or a little below average. And how does that happen? And how did it happen? Well, we're never really taught how to be extraordinary, how to be super. As a matter of fact, it's 1/10 of 1% of all the people know about how to be a super achiever. And the majority of people know how to be pursuers or know how to just drift along with the crowd and do what everybody else does. It's sort of like having a bell cow, that all the cattle follow that bell cow. But we need to break out of that, and that's what we're going to do with this series of information. And so when you started in your practice, for instance, your average program was reinforced even more so because you judged yourself and you were judged by others according to your income and your location and the size of your the volume of your practice, the size of your office or your house, or what kind of car you drove, and things of that nature. And people were constantly judging you as an ordinary individual. But and then we begin to buy into that, and then we program ourselves to think of ourselves as ordinary. And then it's a high likelihood that our goals are set, if we even have goals, and there's far too many people who don't even have any goals, but the goals that we do set, we're going to succeed just if you just do slightly better than you did before, then that seems to be an okay thing. And since we're all programmed to believe that we're less than our potential, then we very, very rarely set difficult goals and never set impossible ones. And that's what we're going to learn to do, is set impossible goals. So, the thing is, why do we think about ourselves in such ordinary terms when we say we want so much more? We all say we want more, but we all just think in terms of being ordinary. And, because judging yourself as an average Joe is safe and it's easy. But safe and easy isn't why you got into chiropractic, hopefully, or why you attempt to make yourself better and do things better and have these buddy calls and go to philosophy meetings and do all the things that we attempt to do to be able to break out of being ordinary. And we want to be able to achieve a whole lot more in our personal and professional life. And I do want to remind you that there is more to life than chiropractic. So when we do these things that we're going to be doing in the future, in particular doing goals and dreams, they should be something other than your practice. I mean, you do have something going on. You have children maybe that you would like something. We ought to a better house, maybe a great vacation, maybe whatever. There's all kinds of things out there other than new patient visits and dollar bills. So I want you to do this. When you think of people who accomplish extraordinary things, do you think they're in a different class or league than you are? And the answer is absolutely not. They're just doing what super achievers have always done. And once again, since it's only 1% of 1% or 1/10 of 1% of the people know how to do that, then there aren't that many super achievers. There are people like Bill Gates and Spielberg and Oprah Winfrey and these people, but the fact is, before anybody was ever a super achiever in anything at all, they were one of us. They were one of the ordinary people, or less than ordinary people, and they broke out of it. So how did they do that? And that's what we're going to be talking about. And the thing that we need to understand is this, that if you can reprogram your mind and your attitude to achieve extraordinary outcomes, and you can end up with those extraordinary outcomes. So where do we start? That's the first thing. And the first step toward achieving extraordinary outcomes is to realize that grades, athletics, popularity were false standards of measurement, that it did not measure your true worth or ability. And, you know, I remember sitting next to a guy named Wimp Wicker, who was a big guy. He was an athletic kind of guy, played lacrosse, did all these things, but he was just an ordinary, regular guy. But he ended up going into the Air Force and being a pilot for the presidents, flying the presidents all over the place, and he ended up being a general in the Air Force. Now, no one ever expected him to do that. If anything, we expected Wicker to just go out and play lacrosse, be a good lacrosse player, be a good sports player, but not really be much. Steven Spielberg, for instance, he had bad grades in school, and he was not an athlete at all, and he was not a real popular guy, and he didn't have much that had nothing at all to do with measuring his ability to achieve the extraordinary. Look what he's achieved in the film industry. And just as grades and athletics and popularity weren't accurate measures of potential in high school, income, job titles, and material possessions are not accurate measures of potential for adults. So it really doesn't make any difference. And the second step is, number one, you got to realize you were created for extraordinary achievement. God built that in you. That's a part of life, growing and being better and better and better, and it's a natural want to be better. And the second thing is to realize that even though you may feel like an ordinary person, you were created to do great things, both at home and at work. And you possess the most advanced computer in the world, and it's permanently located right smack between your ears. And your body, as you well know, is the most phenomenal piece of equipment that was ever connected to a computer. And every moment we're awake, our brain receives and processes millions of pieces of information simultaneously. And even though the world's most advanced scientific computer can process billions of bits of information per second, it does so one bit of information at a time. Your brain is capable of more than that. So we need to, Harlan Sanders, I met Harlan. He was the chicken man, fried chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken man. By the way, his chiropractor was named Green, and he took him all over. Everywhere Harlan Sanders went throughout the world, he had his chiropractor with him, and he got adjusted and checked on a regular basis. One of the reasons that he was able to do wonderful things. But you see, in the beginning, he was living on Social Security, and he was selling chicken from the back of a beat-up station wagon. And then he started using strategies, techniques that we are going to master in these mentoring sessions, and look where he ended up, being a multi-millionaire, having these stores all over the United States, and he ended up selling it for several millions of dollars. And so we need to reprogram our brain, because it's just as simple as awakening. It's an attitude adjustment and an activity. So we need to do this thing because we're equipped with an incredible computer, and we need to change it. We need to reprogram it. We need to make it work. And we need to learn the skills in these mentoring sessions, and which will adjust your attitude and change your way of thinking. And that's the big thing. Haven't we talked about changing your thinking for years and years and years? That's probably all we ever harp about. Change your thinking. Well, some people have and some people haven't. But most people haven't changed it to the degree that they are super achievers. And that's what we really want. Because you're just as capable of achieving your impossible dreams as Spielberg or Winfrey or the guy that has all the buildings in New York, whatever his name is, and so on. But you need to be able to go through these things. We need to be able to learn how to use a vision mapping. In other words, have a vision and be able to map it day by day and date it and work it and build it and create it and have it come forth. And so, if we fail, any of us fail to wake up and change our attitude about who you are and what you can achieve, you're going to continue to act as though your dreams never came true. Because you won't dream big, and you'll never achieve anything other than your tiniest dreams. And that's what we talked about, if you recall, I believe it was in the first session, that we set goals that are so small, infinitely small, and achievable that they won't really make a whole lot of difference when we do reach them. And so that's not what we're after. The difference, the final difference, really, between where you are now and where you want to go, is what we're after. So, the most powerful computer, as I say, is right smack between your ears, and that's where we're going to go with this thing. So, I want you to do some comparison, and we're going to do a little bit of writing here tonight, and I'll give you what to write, and then you fill it in later. We don't have to do it on the phone, because I want you to take your time and do it. But it's going to be based on what we're talking about here, so pay attention, take some notes about this if you need to. But regardless of past programming for mediocrity, anybody can reprogram their brain for extraordinary outcomes. All you need is the right software, which are the strategies and the skills in this particular program. And then the commitment to use it. If you don't have a commitment to use it, then you may as well forget about it. It doesn't do any good to be on this phone. It never has been any good to be on this phone week after week after week and not be committed to making changes in some manner. It doesn't do you or anybody else any good. But these are some of the ways that people pursue their dreams. And if you remember, we're talking about drifters and pursuers and achievers and super achievers. But drifters and pursuers have an onboard computer, but they never replace past programming for mediocrity. In other words, they just keep their mind stuck in this mediocre position. The achievers have an on-bound computer, then replace past programming with achievement efforts. They do go after, and they do achieve things, but for the most part, they're not much more than ordinary. They may be a little greater than ordinary, but they're not a whole lot more. And super achievers have an onboard computer and replace the past programming with master strategies for super achievement, and that's where we're going with this thing. And the thing about it is that false standards that people set themselves up for are the fact that everything is based on academic success. I know some of the greatest chiropractors I know that were the dumbest students in school. So their academic success never existed. But they're damn good chiropractors, and their volume is chiropractors, and they're very successful monetarily in every other way. And another false standard is popularity and athletic achievement and job title and salary, how much that is to say how much money you make, and material possessions, what kind of house, car, gold, jewelry, etc. These are false standards. But true standards are time. What do you do with it? You only have, we can recover most anything. We can recover our health. We can recover our monies. We can go bankrupt and come back. We can recover our lost homes. We can recover our lost relationships. But you can never recover time. The only thing that you cannot replace or get back is time. So what do you do with your time? And what do you do with your talents? And what do you do with your efforts? And the amount of happiness and fulfillment and benefits your accomplishments bring into your life and the lives of others. What's that count? What is it? Are you doing all this stuff just for you, or are you doing it for other people? And your goal isn't riches, but rather to rightly equip yourself for extraordinary success in the areas of your choosing. And I would assume that it's chiropractic, but it could be something else. I don't know that. So here's 3 steps I'm going to give you on on the process of reprogramming. We got this phone system that we have is so lousy. I feel like I'm talking in a tunnel and trains are going through it. But let's bear with it and do the best we can do. The 3-step process is as follows. Number 1, realization. Your future success is not based or limited by your present know-how or resources, such as time, talent, or money. They don't have anything to do with your future success. Your future success is not limited by your lack of achievement in the past or by past failures. We've all done that. I have a plenty. I could list my failures and make a very, very long list. Your future success at home and on the job is going to be based on the fact that your computer is programmed for extraordinary success through a specific set of strategies, skills, and techniques that you're going to learn in our mentoring sessions and will utilize in your daily life. This thing isn't to be done in one night or one day or 1 week or 1 month. This is a lifetime. This is something we're going to do and learn and put forth and study and work on for a lifetime. Now, step number 2, personal commitment. You have to make a decision right now to believe that the strategies and the skills in this program will make a difference. Then act according to your belief by using the skills and strategies contained in these daily sessions that we have. Then step number 3, you're going to learn a set of skills in a future session that's called vision mapping. It's probably one of the most important things that we can accomplish in building and creating a vision and reaching our dreams. Vision mapping will give us a clear definition of our goal on any particular dream and the extraordinary outcome that you want to achieve in the way you want to make those dreams a reality. So we're going to map them out, and we'll get into that in a future, not tonight. Now, here's some important insights. As you begin the process of thinking differently about your potential and reprogramming your brain to think about new thoughts, acquire new skills, and achieve extraordinary things, keep these insights in mind, which is number 1. Past achievement is not a true predictor of future success. Once again, there are a lot of people who have failed. I'm telling you, I have failed and failed. I failed for 8 years. My first 8 years were failures. I failed at a couple of things since. Don't mind telling you. Now, I could just quit, withdraw, jump off a bridge, or just use it as a springboard to go find something else. And that's what we need to do. So, past achievement is not a predictor of future success. Insight number 2, if you can do one thing well, even if it doesn't seem significant, then you have the potential for meteoric success. Just do one thing well, and you have the potential to do gigantic things. And number 3, work on the take action exercises that will be at the end of all these sessions and all these mentoring sessions, because they're designed to help you discover and appreciate the things that you and members of your family have achieved. So, we want to be able to realize that extraordinary achievement is more than just accomplishing. It's an achievement that brings an extraordinary amount of benefit or fulfillment to you or the people you care about. So, that would be your family, friends, so on. So now, here's the action step, and then these are questions, and you can answer them whatever comes to you. It's common sense. The first one, these are questions, and just whichever feels the most right to you. Whose brain is larger? Thomas Edison? Bill Gates? Oprah Winfrey? Or yours? Number 2, whose brain performs more functions? Thomas Edison, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, or yours? And number 3, who has experienced the most failures in business and personal life functions? Thomas Edison, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, or you? And the 4th thing is, what will be the greatest determining factor in your future success? I'll repeat that. What will be the greatest determining factor in your future success? Past education, current knowledge, talents, resources, mastery and utilization of the strategies and techniques you're going to learn in future mentoring sessions. And number 5, what will be your most important activity in reprogramming your brain for extraordinary success, personally and professionally? And I'll give you a hint on that one. I'll give you a hint by asking you a question. I am going to take all of you and pay you first class airplane flight from wherever you are to Hawaii. And at a particular house, in the kitchen, on the table, there's $1 million tax paid. And you can have that $1 million to spend any way you want. I'll pay your way over. How many of you would go?
Yeah, I'll go, Dick.
You all would go?
I'll go.
Well, now then, you realize that I didn't tell you what island, I didn't tell you what street, I didn't give you an address. So what would you do? Spend the rest of your life bumming around going all over the islands trying to find this house that you don't even know? If you did find it, you wouldn't know you found it, would you? Because I didn't give you a map to find it, and I didn't give you an address or a street. You see? So you didn't have enough facts to go there, even though the reward was there. So the most important thing for you to have gone there would be to, number 1, is to have a map to get there. And know how to get from where you were going, have a map to get to that particular house and know what the address was so that you could go right into the kitchen and get your money. So the most important thing in a vision or anything is the mapping, isn't it? If you were to travel anywhere in the United States or Australia or wherever you happen to be, you ought to have a map so that you know how to get there. So if we're going to set up strategies and we're going to set up dreams and then we're going to set up goals and tasks to reach those, we need to have a vision map that we write up and get in detail so that we know exactly where we're going and where the map is and how and have when are we going to get there, what's the address, and so on. Now then, I'm going to answer this question. Just to see how well your brain works. I'm going to give you a list of about 15 words. Do not write them down. Just put them in your memory bank, because the deal is I want you to, and once I give them to you, I want to see how many of you can give them back to me in order. So here we go. Now you're not going to write this down. You just listen. Candle, light, moon, day, coat, blanket, shoe, book, car, pool, stick, rabbit, marble, ball, goat. Now, how many can give that right back to me in that order? Anybody? Well, I didn't think so, because I couldn't either. But supposing we do it this way. Let's get a word picture list, because that's how we think. We think in terms of pictures, don't we? And if we can get a picture of things and we can see this picture, we can get where we're supposed to go. We can remember things, and we can put things in their proper order, and we can strategize, and we can plan, and we can come up with a great vision and a great dream. Because part of your dreaming is to be able to visualize. Part of your goals is to be able to visualize steps to reach that dream. And then part of getting to your goals is being able to set up tasks and then having dates set up that when this task is going to be achieved, or when the goal is going to be achieved. So let me have you do this. Wherever you're sitting, I'm sure that you're sitting in a room, look at a wall, any wall at all. Just look at the wall, and imagine that you hear something knocking on the other side of the wall. Sounds like somebody knocking with a hammer. Rap, 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 rap. And what comes through the wall? A yellow fish. The yellow fish has a bubble in its mouth. In that bubble is Bill Clinton. Clinton drops marbles, red marbles, on the floor. And they form a perfect 5-point star. In that star is Walmart. In Walmart is aisles of Fritos. When you open the Fritos, it's full of broccoli. When you bite on the broccoli, they're full of chocolate. The chocolate drips on your blue sports jacket. You reach for an Enquirer magazine and a bottle of Pepsi. And as you rub on the chocolate, your blue jacket magically turns you into a red shirt. At the end of an aisle, you see a giant bull. The bull reaches up on top of the shelf and gets a small guitar. All right. Now then, let's go through that. What came through the wall?
Yellow fish.
All right. And what was in the fish's mouth?
Bubble.
And what was in the bubble?
Bill Clinton.
And what did Bill Clinton have or do?
Marble.
Right. And what did he create when he dropped it?
Star.
And what was in the star?
Walmart.
Okay. And what was in the aisles?
Fritos.
All right. And what was in the bags of Fritos? And what was in the broccoli?
Chocolate.
And some of it got on your what?
Blue sports coat.
Okay. Then you reach for what? A what? An Enquirer. And then you poured some what on it? Pepsi. And it magically turned into what?
Red.
Shirt.
Okay. And what was at the end of the aisle?
Bull. Giant bull.
And what did the bull do?
Reached up.
Small guitar.
Okay, there you are. You see how you got that? You got 15 words perfectly, just like that. See? And the difference, what was the difference? That you used and you reprogrammed your mind to think in terms of pictures, didn't you? Rather than just words. And it made all the difference in the world. So it just gives to show you what your potential is. You have a tremendous potential to memorize and to create and do things. If we do them in a planned, in a picturesque, mapped out way. So, here's what I would like you to do. This is the beginning now. We're just going to begin the process of vision mapping, or, defining your dreams. We all have dreams, hopefully. And what you want to do is list your strengths and your weaknesses, and the things you love to do, and the things you want to do better. And then you'll discover the areas where you're extraordinary right now. And then this exercise will also suggest to you areas of interest. So be encouraged by this exercise because you're beginning a process that will become the foundation of your future success. And don't neglect the value of thinking about your life and writing down those thoughts, because you'll learn how to move through those thoughts into action and achievement through the rest of the course. Be patient and enjoy the journey.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this consultation call from my father. Now you know what it was like to be one of Sig's clients. If I were you, I would listen to this call or podcast over and over and keep your notes close by so that you can start to put into action whatever it is that you envision for yourself. I'll see you next week, and until then, go tell someone you love them for no reason at all. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in more of Dr. Sigafoose's material, head on over for your daily dose of chiropractic philosophy to www.sigafoose.com and register for our free newsletter and to find today's audio clip of Dr. Sigafoose in its entirety. Remember to give, love, do, and serve.